Welcome back to Bonanza Disc Golf. Today, we're gonna be taking a look at a Patreon-sponsored bag it or bin it, and that's gonna be for the Discmania Genius. Greg is the one who suggested this disc, which is a 7.5 -4.1 from Discmania. I got it in the active premium plastic, which is the nicer plastic. They also have an active baseline plastic. I'm hoping it makes it slightly more stable, but I'm not quite sure because this disc is supposed to be stupid flippy. If you didn't know, when you look at a disc, the parting line right down here, the lower it is, normally the flippier a disc is, and this is a pretty low parting line. We're in some woods right now at Gator League's disc golf course. We're gonna be playing 6 holes here on the property and see if we can beat par with this disc. And since it's a Patreon-sponsored bag it or bin it, if I can't beat par, this disc is going straight back to Greg. Not back to Greg, I'm gonna ship it to him. Greg also wanted to give a quick shout out to Fly Green Disc Golf Shop in Denver. I've actually been there before. I think I have some credits still there from a tournament that I played. Literally left town the next day, so I never picked up stuff. But pretty good shop over in Denver if you're in the area. Hole 1 here is 219 feet straight up the gut. I'm gonna try to compare it with one disc every hole because I have a couple of them that we can throw against it. I do think normally I would throw either a putter or a mid here, but this isn't the worst because even though it's a faster speed, a 7-speed, the flippiness of it will kind of make it fly probably more similar to like a stable putter maybe, or like a straight putter. So I'm interested to see if we can flip this up and have it get straight down this gap, hopefully take our first birdie. And on this hole, because of how I think it's gonna fly, I'm gonna compare it to the Paradox, which is 5.4 -4.0 as a mid-range. But both of these are probably gonna be hyzer flipped. First flight with the Genius, please be good. Okay, I was wrong. I don't know if the active premium makes a lot of a difference, but I thought it was gonna flip up even more than that. It felt a little more stable in my hands because it's pretty stiff, but I think if I throw this on the same line, it's gonna flip up a little bit more than that Genius did. Yeah, got a little lucky, but it definitely flipped over a little bit more. We should still have a look with the Genius. This is intriguing because we got this little forehand. This is also could be a good time to talk a little bit about those rollers because in a situation like this, forehand rollers can be very useful. Now, when you're throwing a roller on a forehand, I've been playing with it, so I understand it a little bit. If I throw it down, the disc, however flippy it is going to want to turn to the left. It's going to want to turn to the left faster the flippier it is. So you can counteract that by putting it on more angle like this. But you really have to know that this is something I get really bad is wherever your disc is pointed. So when I said like this, do you see where the front of my disc is pointed? It's actually pointed this way. So if I want it to go straight, I can keep it on this angle. Just make sure that the disc is actually pointed straight because wherever it hits, it's going to roll along that line. So if I wanted to do that, I would have to actually come a little bit more inside and throw it down like that. And one other really big tip that I've heard for rollers, especially forehand rollers, is just to throw one after every single shot in your round. That way you can start to learn it, how it reacts at different grounds and different things like that. It's not something I have done yet, but I'm interested in making a video like that. And then the last big tip that I have for forehand rollers specifically is to aim for your spot on the ground, not what the whole flight is going to be like. Well, not flight, but roll. And so I'm really gonna honestly probably get to a knee and aim for a specific spot here, have it land slightly like this because I know it's gonna flip up, and hopefully put it in that little bowl there. Okay, that's not the end of the world, but that's why you also gotta look at the debris on the ground. Kind of hoping I would get lucky and sneak over it, but that also makes sure that if you hit any of these trees, instead of kicking way into the woods, like a flight of a disc, it'll just kind of stay within the radius of the tree, which is really helpful. That's why a lot of pros will throw them. Well, let's go ahead, make this quick Genius putt. Oh, that almost popped out of there. But I'll take that, we'll take a par and move on to the next. Really interested to see how this works on a backhand roller. I'm just really bad at rollers in general. I need to do a lot of training, but something that we can definitely try. All right, hole 2 here is pretty significant. 306 feet to the right. I don't even know where it is. This is honestly probably a good hole for something like a Genius, where if you have a lower arm speed, you can throw it flat and it'll start to turn. I'm probably gonna throw it on some hyzer and it should flip up to flat and turn, but not as much as I thought it would based on that last hole. Yeah, as long as you stay in the fairway and stay on turn, you should be good. So to give a little comparison, I have a Virus here as well. I've only ever thrown this a couple times, but I'm gonna try to throw these the same and see how these discs compare. They're both fairway. Rethrow both. So I'm really gonna trust that the flight on this is much more stable than the numbers would suggest. Jeez, flip over, dude. Okay, it's way more stable than I thought. That's so far down the hill. At least in that active premium, it does not fly like a -4.1 does. There's the Virus. I think the Virus is even a little bit more flippy. It's also just so tightly wooded. I mean, it's a forehand gap. It's not a backhand gap, especially with that tree right there, so we struggle a little bit. At -4.1 in a 7-speed, I would imagine with how hard I threw it, which was about 300 feet of power, it would flip up to flat and maybe turn. -4, I would say this is closer to -2 or -3 in this plastic specifically. Ah, man, I don't know. We're having to do this little backhand gap here. It is tough to get up and down. Go in. Oh, let's go. That was a good shot. It is flippy enough that it feels like it has that super glide when you throw it on an Anheuser line, but I don't trust in the Active Premium that it's that stable. And I also know sometimes Discmania's colors affect things. I don't think in these plastics, because I think this is the Chinese-made plastic, not the Italian blend plastics. But that being said, maybe a different color is less stable. We do have 4 more holes to figure it out, and luckily, we're still at par, so as long as I can make sure that we stay that way, we should be happy. All right, hole 3 here is 342 feet from the pro pad. Pretty tight gap to hit, but it should work to hit it, flip up, turn over, and then based on the stability of this guy so far, maybe even come back a little bit. Gonna try not to throw it on a crazy amount of hyzer, just a little bit less hyzer through this initial gap, let it turn. This one, we're actually going to compare it against the disc that I actually bag, which is the River, because it kind of feels like a similar flippiness to the River, but this is 7.7, -1.1. The profiles feel different. I think it's just the type of blading. Like this feels more bladed on the bottom, it feels more smooth, whereas this one kind of has that curve at the bottom there. So a little interesting, but hopefully this will work out for the Genius. There we go. Oh, now it's getting flippy. Okay. So I did throw it on much less hyzer than I had before. Maybe I was putting on this too much hyzer, but here's the River. Okay, it's definitely a little less stable than the River. Makes sense. I really hope that's the gap because the River might be parked, but I think it's a little farther. When you don't put it on 1,000,000,000 degrees of hyzer, it kind of does want to turn on you, I guess. But I still expected, like when you put it on that much hyzer, normally a disc that has those numbers will flip up the flat for me. So, I don't know. I'm sure, like just feeling the baseline plastic, I'm sure it will do that for that, but not for me. Oh, that River is parked. Let's go. Honestly, this could be a jump putt with this, or it could be a little forehand. Sit. That's fine. Solid. I think a disc like this in my bag could be really good for just teaching me touch. I really need to practice with just like almost all flippy discs because the discs will come back to the left as you saw in some other holes and they won't flip up all the way depending on the speed, nose angle that you give them. And that's something I need to work a lot on as I try to pursue getting onto the Pro Tour. So this could have a lot of utility and I would already feel like a genius for having it there. All right, so we moved over to the Pirates Cove course on the same property here. Hole 9 here is our hole 4, 315 feet through this gap. So if we get the right amount of flip up, we're actually gonna compare it to the Blackout from Doomsday Discs. I'm reviewing a pretty full lineup of their discs here probably tomorrow, which will be on the channel later, but this one also feels kind of like a River, even a little bit more understable. So I'm interested to see how the Blackout compares to the Genius. Just hit the gap, get a birdie, because I'm needing one. Get lucky. Oh, that's very lucky. Get stable now. Oh, that's not the worst shot. I pulled it a little bit inside, so that's not great. Let's try the Blackout now. Yeah, similar. Very similar. But we might actually have a look for the birdie with the Genius, which is something that I desperately need to not give it away. Just outside the circle, we got a look. I kind of snuck through the sneakier gap through there. Not too mad about that. Oh, that's a root, not a stick. Get down. No, I thought I made it. Par town, 2 holes to go. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've filmed 2 more videos today and I've been struggling to beat par everywhere. I haven't been over par, but I haven't been beating par. This is the field hole. Basket is out there. It's about 350 feet away. So we're gonna get a good idea of how these fly compared to one another. This is gonna be tough to figure out. I think we do have a slight tail pushing us this way. Let's see what we can do. Oh, that's kind of just turning into a roller. Oh, no, it also just turned into a headwind, so that sucks. Probably is this, see how they fly. Try to throw them on similar angles. right, now we gotta get up and down. Yeah, this is a disc, I don't know if it would have a lot of utility in my bag, honestly. I don't really know what I would use it for, even training wise. I mean, maybe rollers. I wonder if it could put down a good roller, but honestly, there's two types of rollers. So I've heard. I watched your Brian Earhart video. I'll link it in the description. But you got power rollers, and then like, I don't know, one of them's forced over, one of them lets the disc do the work. So the forced over one, I would probably throw with an overstable disc because I'm forcing it on that angle and it's gonna go a lot farther. But the one that I would throw with this disc would be one where I throw it closer to flat, let it hit the ground at an angle and roll over, which is probably something you do with like a lower ceiling. I'm not great at them. Hopefully we can at least get up and down though. And yeah, coming out here now that I'm not blocked by the bleachers, I have so much more of a headwind. All right, just gonna try to get up and down from here. Lots of hyzer, flip up, go in the basket. Oh, that's a pretty solid, accurate shot there. That was pretty sick. I really wish that was gonna go in. Upside down little putt. One more hole to get under par with this to make sure I don't have to give it away. I'm honestly not enthused by it. It's a great disc, especially for beginner players. I think this is a perfect beginner driver, especially because you can get it in two plastics. So you have two different stabilities off the bat. And it's only 16 bucks in the premium plastic, which is pretty cheap for a premium disc. It feels premium, it feels good. I would do a lot more work on rollers right now, but it is very windy. I'm already not good at rollers, so doing them in the wind wouldn't be good, but I definitely have roller videos coming out, especially for you, Greg. Thank you for asking for that. I'll link that one down in the description down below. That is a good video on rollers, and those little forehand tips hopefully helped. But let's get on to the last hole, which is gonna be hole 1 here at Pirates Cove. I can't lose all my videos today. That would be really sad. Ooh, I will say that this just got pretty damaged from hitting. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I was through it pretty hard, and that's kind of stinky, but that's what happens when you hit the basket. What we're gonna do here though is go straight to that basket down there. It's 330 feet away, which is pretty far for such a flippy disc. Again, I am gonna throw this against the Virus. This might be a little flippier. It is a little faster. So if you prefer smaller, like shallower discs in your hand, Genius might be good. If you prefer not so shallow, 9-speed Virus might be really good for you. I'm gonna try to throw this as an air shot. Hopefully we can get there. Get stable. Don't go in the road. That is in the road. All right, gotta put it even more to the left. That's crazy. That one I threw pretty nose up, which definitely helped it. It's down there. So as we walk up to what is more likely than not, yep, it's OB. I see it in the middle of the road. Hopefully the disc doesn't get run over, Greg, because it is coming to you. I would say, especially if you have a lower arm speed or you're a beginner or you're older and getting into the sport or growing out of some of your overstable discs. It's a good mold to go to, I think. It feels very comfortable in the hand. You have those two plastics, like I said, and it's something that will probably grow with you and share with you. Don't run it over. Okay, right in the middle. Whew. And it'll probably show you a lot of what you're doing right or wrong. To me, it kind of feels like the baby brother of a river, which is something I already throw. And the river is pretty very flippy for me, kind of this slot, except it's even more stable than this disc. So it doesn't really have a place for my bag. So I personally would say bin it, but if you're any of those other people, I would say bag it. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and make this putt to save par. It's gonna be incredible. You're gonna love it and think I'm a genius, and then that'll be it. Now, oh man. Greg, I hope you enjoy this disc. I'm sorry that 2 times in a row now, my patrons have given me discs that I don't like. Good putt. Definitely join the Patreon if you want to be my boss for a day and tell me which disc that I have to review, like the Genius, as well as the F5 over here, which is from Prodigy. One more video to film today. Hopefully I can actually beat par, because I filmed 3 so far today. Not gonna tell you which ones. You're never gonna be able to guess. Yeah, see you in the next one. Love you, bye.